Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants and immigration and everything in between. Thank you for listening and downloading the show, and thank you for supporting my dad.
Greetings, Immigrant Nation! Just like that lady who sells fish on the streets from back home, we are back once again, offering a new and fresh episode of An Immigrant's Life podcast. As always, every week, I will never get tired of expressing my gratitude to you all. Your support is much appreciated. As a general reminder, if you have not officially joined the Immigrant Nation yet, I kindly request you to please click the subscribe button wherever you are listening to this podcast. Additionally, you can also become a part of our community by visiting and following our social media platforms. Our username is @AnImmigrant'sLife. And furthermore, if you or someone you know is interested in appearing as a guest on our podcast, feel free to contact us through our social media channels, as I mentioned earlier, or you can send us an email at animmigrantslife@yahoo.com. Let's connect and let's tell your beautiful story. House cleaning is done. Now, let's talk about the episode. This week's episode presents the captivating story of an immigrant son whose parents endured the atrocities inflicted by the Khmer Rouge regime. However, despite coming from such a dark past, his unwavering adoration for his culture continues to shine brightly. Through his exceptional artistry, he not only honors his heritage, but he also proudly showcases the richness and beauty of his roots. And as always, I talk too much, but let's get to the point, shall we? Without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is a multidisciplinary artist who pumps iron in the morning and then pumps out creative content throughout the day. Everyone, please welcome Johnny F. Kim.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Hells yeah, man. Finally did this.
Yes, finally. It's been a while. We've been trying to coordinate. I've been busy. I've been, in between changing jobs and doing stuff too. So, but it's good. It's good.
It's all good, man. Good things. How do they say? Like, good things come. I don't know.
Good thing takes time, or something like that.
I was gonna pretend I'm smart, but then I forgot I'm dumb.
It's okay. I'm dumb too, so I know what you mean. I guess we were on the same page for that, so that works. So
exactly, man.
Cool.
By the way, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
My honor.
Yeah,
I'm honored.
And if you want, why don't you tell the Immigrant Nation where they can reach you if you want to promote anything?
Yeah, my name is Johnny F. Kim. I'm, like you said, a multidisciplinary artist from Montreal, Canada. I do a lot of things. I do graphic work. I have a podcast called Weird Feelings that I co-host with my friend Tim. Mm-hmm. It's about two guys just being vulnerable and talking about mental health, talking about funny situations. It's like more comedic. So I do that. And also, I also help my friends at Lopez, which is a store. I do some marketing with them, and I'm always stay busy. And then my handles is @shotbyjfk on Instagram, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's so creative, the handle.
Yeah, it's a play on my initials, and it's also I've been obsessed because my initials like JFK, and I was like, and when I was doing like photo and video, I was like, oh, it'd be funny if it's like shot by JFK. It has like two meaning. It's like if JFK got assassinated, he got shot, but then I'm the one shooting. so that was the whole meaning. So
it's so clever. Did it take you time to think about it, or it just came to you?
I think it came up to me pretty quickly, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just ride with it, and it sounded cool. And a lot of people do use like shot by, etc. But I felt like I was one of the first ones. That's it.
Hey man, I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of your name, which we talk about offline, the F. Farovich.
Yes.
What's up with this name?
I'm Jewish. No, not really. so Johnny. So my name is Johnny Farovich Kim. Mm-hmm. So I'm Cambodian. So when my dad, came, to Canada, he wanted to give us like names that kind of fit within society, or were not like too weird, I guess, for the Western. And he was like, "Oh, I read this name in a book, and it kind of like was like a Jewish descent or something, and it's like sounded rich, so it just put Farovich." Like my brother, his name is William Junior Kim, but there's no William Senior. So it was all it just came, I guess, for just more like to fit in, sometimes, because they're refugees from Cambodia, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want my kids to kind of just want to fit in with the society and the here." But it came with a, it sounds cool now, Johnny. It's like everyone's asked me, like, "What is your middle name?" Like Farovich, and they're like, "Oh, are you Jewish?" I'm like, "No, but I could be if you want." I've been told at the border, they've stopped me. They're like, "Who's Johnny Farovich?" And they're like, "You're Farovich?" Is like, "Are you Jewish?" I'm like, "No, I'm Asian." He's like, "What the hell?" And then they laughed it off and let me go through. So
Did your dad tell you which book it was? He got the name from?
no, he just said like he read it somewhere and it just kind of stuck, and then he gave us that name. So
Did you grow up wanting an Asian name, or were you always been grateful that your name is Johnny, so you don't have to explain that, by the way, my real name is Johnny?
yeah, a part of me, yes, and a part of me, I like my name. It's like that's the name they gave me. But sometimes I do wish I have like like a classic Cambodian name. But
Exactly.
no, a part of me is just more like that's the name I've been given, and I'm born in Canada, and it's also part. But I have my Kim, but then people think I'm Korean.
Yeah.
It's like a weird like mix.
Yeah, exactly. But you know how people are like mostly immigrants when they move, they change their name. They don't really
Yeah,
change their name, but they get like a Western name.
yeah.
Do you ever get that growing up, that what's your real name?
Oh no, not really. I think my parents just gave me that name. I know that
No, like
because
people that you
people.
meet.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's your real? It's like, is it Jonathan? I'm like, no, it's just Johnny,
No,
like
you
Johnny.
do they say like, what's your Asian name or Cambodian
Oh,
name?
oh no, that never has happened actually. I feel like it happens with a lot of Chinese people because they always have like my name is Edward. It's like, you're not Edward. You don't look like Edward, kind of thing. No,
Yeah.
it never really happened, to be honest. No, I never had that. It was always Johnny, and never
That
asked me
happened
more.
to me once. They're like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Aaron." No, what's your real name? Like, Aaron? No, no, like, what's your Chinese or Asian name? Like, Aaron.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I do get like I'm like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Montreal." "No, what you're you?" I'm like, "I'm from Montreal, Canada." It's like, "No." "Oh," it's like, "Your background." I'm like, "I'm Cambodian, but I'm from here," kind of thing. I get
Yeah.
that I get
Do
more.
you get offended?
I don't get offended easily. Actually, I just like, yeah, whatever. Not really. It's like I feel like I have a tough skin growing up too.
Mm,
It's more like racism was always part of where I grew up,
yeah,
and
me too.
everybody.
I don't get offended with like questions like that too. Like, of course, some people doesn't know.
Yeah, people don't know, and like a lot of time it is like white folks or Canadian folks, Quebec folks that are they kind of assume,
Mm.
because I grew up in an environment where it's like everybody was actually an immigrant or come from immigrant parents,
Hmm.
and it felt like racism was like a thing of like bonding. It's like black guys, Asians, Filipinos, Indian guys, Latinos, we all mesh, but we all like kind of like it was almost like a endearment type of thing. It's like,
Mm.
and it was like, that's just how it is. It's like, I was le Chinois, or and I'm like, I'm not even Chinese. It was like that was just the thing.
But
So
since you have the eyes, you're the
yeah, so
Chinese.
the Chinese, yeah, that's like the default for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that? Do you think that was a toxic thing that should be eradicated, or do you think that's a good thing? It makes you like have a connection with each other.
You mean like by like growing up in that environment?
Yeah, like being racist towards each other, but in a kind way.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like if you're not from the environment, it's easy to be like, well, that's not right. That shouldn't happen. And
Mm.
it's like, but if you're in it and everybody's just kind of like playfully doing it, like in my head, it was fine. But also a side of me says like, it is not fine to an extent where it's like, we're humans and that's all it is. Like but what was good about it is that we all knew that everybody that was in the area, in the neighborhood, everybody was kids from immigrants, and that was the bond from growing up in that area. But I guess the racism part was just more like the funny part is that neighborhood was mainly immigrants, and the guy that got the most racist bully was the white guy. So I felt bad because after when I thought about it growing up, I was like, damn, we're nice to that white kid. He was all alone. And it's like, it was like reverse racism kind of thing. It was like, but I don't know. It was fine in my.
You mentioned that your dad is from Cambodia. Your mom, she's from Cambodia too?
Yeah, so both of them, they're Cambodians. Well, my dad was born in Thailand, but my mom is from Cambodia, and we do have I found out I have Vietnamese blood. Like I think most of Southeast Asians, I have like a third apparently Vietnamese too. Maybe that's where the Kim comes from. And my mom's side is a bit more Chinese Vietnamese too, because she's more light skinned. But yeah, both my parents from Cambodia. Yeah.
Oh, she got it good then, because she's light skinned.
Yeah, we actually were in Cambodia. On my mom's side, they were really kind of wealthy before the war. They were working in the minister of fishing and stuff like that. So they were kind of well off. And on my dad's side, it was a bit more military, I guess, from what I know that he's told me. But yeah.
Does he like talking about the stories?
Yeah, he does little bits, but not really. It's kind of, you have to pull bits and pieces once in a while, maybe a few shots of drinks, a little bit more loose, and you ask questions, but it's kind of hard. I talk to my mom a bit, but it's always I feel those subjects about the past is always a harder subject to bring up, because I feel there's a lot of trauma and stuff like that. They're more thinking of the present. We went through it. It was a good time that we've had, but then the war happened and then kind of erased all of that.
Yeah, I think that the idea is let's move on.
Yeah, it's more let's move on. And they do talk about it, I guess, amongst them, the older generation, when they're here. I feel that's a bond. Back in the time we used to do this and that, and then it's always comes back to what happened. The war is always also a starting point for some conversations if they don't remember each other or they don't know each other. They're like, oh, were you at this refugee camp? Were you at this other refugee camp?
That sounds horrible.
It is, but I feel when I talk to my other Cambodian friends, I feel that's a lot of them is a conversation starter too, or remember the times where we're picking stuff in the field and stuff like that. Because I always it's a weird bad memory, but it's also a good memory, which is in a bad situation, I guess.
Yeah, I understand. I heard one podcast. I think it was Fresh Air. There's this writer that he did some research about the London bombing. That they find that people were more they're more connected because they were going through the same horrible thing.
Yeah,
but then they start living better. They start becoming more against each other
as they get better.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot the book. I'm terrible with books. I love reading.
Yeah.
But they asked me about the book that I read last time. I'm like, the guy, he's white dude. He did the thing. That's me.
Is that Rick Rubin? Are you talking about Rick Rubin?
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah.
You mentioned about trauma. How have your parents' generational trauma affected you?
I think it carries on with it's more of the hustle side of things, of they came with nothing, right? They lost everything, and then they got here, and it was more I'm in a new continent, a new city, a new society, new language. I gotta figure out how to survive, and it feels like they skipped their 20s kind of thing. It's they went from oh, life was good, life stopped, we were stuck at war, and then we try to come back, and then now I have to have 3 kids I have to raise, and then now I have to just work. There's a little part where it's the fun is not present, and us, me and my brothers, seeing that, I think it gave us a drive of we should be good if we're working all the time, or if we're always hustling or finding a way to, if you're working, that means that you're doing good. Yeah, there's not I've spoken to that with some friends where it's hard to kind of say in words, because I feel my way of working, my work ethic comes from that trauma, I guess, because it's like, hey, we're here. We need to feed the kids. We need to have rent money, and we need to make it work, kind of thing. We don't want to go back to that. We can't go back to that. Like, there's nothing left, and we have to make it work where we are at. And then I always have that little, it's not like a push, but it's more of like a back thought. It's always like, yes, my parents came here because they wanted to give us a better life, but I have to honor that too, which has like a good and bad type of I'd say like a good and bad. How would say like a good
Connotation?
and bad? Yeah, because it's good because you're hustling and you're working, you're making sure that you're providing, but it's also bad because you're always working and you don't know how to stop. And at some point, you just have to realize like how to take time for yourself and enjoy the moment more than anything. But I feel like that side of like the survival part kind of like is imprinted in our DNA or the way we work. It's like I'm tired, but I gotta keep pushing.
Yeah. Or else you'll feel like you're nothing, or you're letting them down, or
I'm like,
whatever
yeah.
they sacrifice, you're poo-pooing on them.
Yeah, it's like never enough. It always feels like it's never enough. It's never enough. But at some point, it's like it's enough. You gotta do some good times too. So
Yeah. Growing up, did they emphasize on the pressure of succeeding?
yeah, they were like, you have to do good in school. You should become, like every Asian parents, like a doctor, lawyer,
Lawyer.
or engineer.
Engineer.
Engineer is like very, because my dad was an engineer, and
Okay.
he came back and he went to school, and he went to school and worked at the same time. Which in my head, I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Like it's either we're weak as a generation, or they were just like insane, like as people.
Oh, we're weak.
Yeah, we're weak. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Because they were like, dude, he went to school and worked, and he made sure that we were good. Yeah,
I read that you got your creativity from your dad.
yeah. I think my dad was very curious. I think in things like he was always like, if you don't know how to fix something, just open it up or figure it out in a way. He was also like, I think at some point he was writing like poetry and stuff like that. He was drawing. He did photography too, and yeah, I think a lot from my dad. I think on my mom's side, I know there's like from talking with her and then little pieces. I know like she wanted music in her life because she's like recently she was like, oh, I want to learn how to play piano and stuff like that. And I feel like there's like things in the past that she wanted to achieve maybe musically that she couldn't, but she doesn't really express it. But that's my interpretation of like maybe on my mom's side, it was that. So
Are they retired now?
my mom is, my dad is almost, because
Well,
like
no.
every immigrant parent, I don't know why they come here and they lie about their age and they screw themselves over. I don't know. So he's about to, but he's gonna retire soon. So
I
but
think
he's
that's
like,
fear.
I think they just want to look young too. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's maybe fear of like age, but I don't know. I mean, I was like, why did you do that? Like you could have been retired by now. So that's my
Yeah, I see that though. Yeah, but immigrant parents, they don't really retire. They're liars.
yeah. They're always doing something.
Because like you
They're
said
always
earlier, that if they're not working, they feel like they're worthless.
yeah. But I find I think they're understanding more of time to be like precious, and also just to live it day by day more than anything. There's less of a fear of like I think they're good, and they're like, we have everything we need. We have food, we have a house. That's enough.
There's no bombs
there's
flying.
no bombs. There's nothing. It's good. Like this is good enough. And then you should be doing the same too. They say that like at least you're working, and some people don't. So, but yeah,
So being a son, now you're a father.
yeah.
How's the weekends with Amy?
Weekends are good. I try to do the things. So my parents, like growing up, there was not a lot of Asian culture. I guess in my generation, I guess we're in the same generation. Like they didn't really show affection a lot or stuff like that. So I do the reverse. Very affectionate. I show her everything. I explain her everything. I let her discover stuff. And my kid is very open and she understands stuff. And I'm lucky to have like a daughter that's very open minded and curious too. So I can show her like the cool stuff that I like as a grown up, and I like also the cool stuff that she likes as a 9-year-old. So it works. Like at heart, I'm a kid, so it's a good balance with me and my daughter. And then just patience. I think the key to it is patience, and also acceptance of they're naive. They're young and they're curious. So you always have to like take time with them and explaining things. It's not going to be like instantly. Like growing up, people like my parents like, you should know this. You should know this. I'm like, dude. I'm like it's like trauma. What are you
like,
trying to
9
do?
times is 9. My time is 9. You're 8. You should know by now.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I say I do like sometimes I'm like, oh, you should know this, but then I'm like, oh, look, this is just a kid, and if they'll learn at their own. At least just don't be dumb. And like my parents were saying at some point, they when we go back to like the pressure of like, oh, succeeding and being a doctor, engineer. At one point, something happened. They were like, look, Johnny is not good at school. And he's working. I started working like I think in Sec 4, Sec 5. Like I worked. It's like he's working. That's enough. Like he can work. He's passing barely, but it's good. He's passing, and then it turned out pretty good. So
Yeah, not bad.
yeah, but I
Do
think
you
they
play-
gave up. They gave up on the engineer and doctor. They were just like, you know what, Johnny is working. That's good enough for us.
Johnny is done with school, but he's smart
Yeah.
with other things though. So let's
Yeah.
focus on that.
Yeah, exactly. So
I get it, man. I was the same thing, man. Like I was good in school if I focus.
yeah,
That's the problem. Focus.
yeah. Me was more of a. If you tell me something to do, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather do it on my own and learn on my own. I've always been more of a self-taught DIY. A bit. I'm like, I'll just figure it out. Even like in Stage Up, I was like, yo, the teacher's like, you're showing us like really bad softwares. I'm going to find better softwares than your curriculum and just do better. And then it's like, okay. And they told me like, yeah, you do better when you do your own thing on your own time. And then, it was always very like self-motivated and DIY kind of attitude. Yeah.
That's a good thing, but sometimes it takes you more. The learning curve is longer than to just following the line. You know what I'm saying? But it's also freeing too.
Yeah, I feel like a school is great. Like it gives you like a structure, it gives you like a guide to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm more of a like, I'll figure it out on the way. Like I'll make mistakes as I go, but at some point I'll figure it out. It'll take me a bit longer, but then people that go to school, this is for me. Like I'm not talking for everybody. My thought is more like while people are studying, I'm getting the experience. Let's say I'm working in something, and then maybe you'll be in school for 3 years, but then you're gonna come to a new job that you just started fresh out of school. Yeah, you learn all the things in the books by the teacher, but I have like real life experience that I can apply, because everything that you learn in books, I think it's not applicable in a real life situation sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's my take on school. But go to school.
Yeah. Go to school.
Go
Do
to
your
school.
best.
Do your best. Yeah.
Just
Take
in
your
case.
time. Take your time.
Yes.
Don't rush. If you finish high school and you don't know what to do, it's okay that you don't know. Just take maybe a break, a year off or something, go work, and then you'll figure it out. Don't jump into like political science or philosophy. Like I see a lot of people, they make that mistake. They just jump into something because I feel that's what their parents want. Is like, I need to be doing these steps of life, but life is whatever. Like, just do you kind of thing.
Exactly, man. Yeah, for sure. That's why I tell my kids. I say, yo, if the course is 4 years, you don't have to finish in 4 years. You can finish in 6 or 7 if you want.
Yeah.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself and then get low grades, or like you miss a lot of things. Like life is life, dude. Like there's no repeat.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. It's great.
I have my eldest, he's going to Sejep soon. And I'm like, yo, don't worry about it, dude. Like, do your thing. Thank God he's good in school. Thank God he's smart like mom.
Okay,
God,
that's good. Yeah. Sometimes they just are smart and that's what they want to do. So You can't deny that. So
And he's one of those kids that he knew what he wanted since he was young.
yeah,
You know how those people, like, I don't know, I don't think you had that because you're an artist. Most of people, they don't really know what they want till they're like, oh, this is what I want. But
Yeah,
there's some
yeah.
people that are like, oh, I knew I was gonna be a drummer since I was 4. I'm like, what? How?
Yeah, some people just have it also built in them family wise. It's like this is the family uh business, or and then like, oh, everyone's a doctor, so everybody in the family's a doctor kind of thing. Me, it
Yeah,
was more I don't know if you ever done like a like it's like a class that tells you like your not your future, but it's like
your likes.
the things that you think that you'll be doing in the future, like they make you do a test. It's like a career orientation.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I did that. So when I did mine, it gave me three things. I think it gave me a plumber.
I was gonna say plumber.
Yeah, I had plumber. There was another thing that was like a weird job, but I had clown. And I remember I was like, why is this like a career? Like what is like as a teenager, I didn't feel good. I was like, everyone's getting like these pretty like normal jobs. I was getting like but plumber is pretty good now. Like,
Hey, they make
pays well.
good money, man.
But when I saw clown, I was like, what the hell? Am I like just joking around too much in class? Am I just an idiot? Like what? Maybe because I'm funny. I don't know. But it was as a younger me, I was like, yo, this is whack. What
First
am I
of all,
doing?
why is there a clown there anyway? Why is there an option? It could have been like a stand-up comedian or a comedian.
I think
Not
it's
a
just
clown.
this whoever made those softwares did not know what they were doing. So, but it's funny thing looking back because I do joke around a lot, so it's fun.
Yeah, I know, but like I hate those things. I like IQ test. I hate that shit too.
Yeah, it's but yeah, it's just for as a teenager, I felt like it was like not out of place. It was more like demotivated. Oh my god, is this what I'm going to be?
I want to be a clown.
Yeah, I would be a clown. I'm done.
Exactly, man. Let's go back to being a dad. Did you
Yeah,
always want to be a dad?
yeah. I always wanted to be a dad. It was always something I felt like that I was going to be good at, or well, not like good at. I think it's just something always wanted another person that I wanted to like show stuff that I was into. You know, the same way like how my dad just showed me all his random obsessions on stuff. I wanted to do that too, and just like, hey, like look at art, look at drawings, look at the video, photo, and just doing that with somebody, and that they're there to learn and be a sponge. You know, just like sharing my passions with a smaller version of me that's gonna do it. So
Is that your favorite part of fatherhood?
yeah, I think it's also being having just someone that just loves you unconditionally and that's there, and that's just I don't know, it's just conversations with like a 9-year-old is always fun too, or seeing them grow. But now like where they're at an age where they understand stuff, they understand jokes, they can talk, and then they kind of have their own personality. I like that, you know, just having somebody there, just you know, just to pick their brain on like what do you think of that at your age? You know, what's your thoughts on this? What's your you know, just try to explain them things that they maybe don't understand, or have them explain it to you. And be like, oh, that's how a younger person sees things, you know, versus like an adult, you know.
Yeah, because adult has some biases, you know. Kids, they don't have bias really.
Yeah, they just go off their top of their head. And it's like I want this, and that's it, or I don't want to do that. And
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any Cambodian values that you're trying to make sure that she embraces?
work hard and hustle.
You know, from the trauma thing, that's what
That's a trauma.
I'm gonna pass it on her.
Yeah. No, but I think not I think more of the things like not everything is given to you. That's something that I kind of try to show. It's like you have to work for things and not just accept that things are gonna fall in your lap, because life doesn't happen like that. Maybe to some people it does, but me it's more like I keep telling I tell her this joke. It's kind of mean. I don't know what people are gonna think. It's not mean. It's funny. At one point I made a joke with her. I was like, you're 9 now, right? So all the things that I've been spending money on you for since all the way till now, but once you hit 18, you owe me all that money. And she was like, "What?" I was like, "I owe you like $1 million or something." Like, yeah, that's how it works. That's how like you. The day you were born, you're working already.
Yeah,
but
I
then
like it.
But I just told her it was a joke. She was like, all right, cool.
You're
But she's
like,
like,
you're
I'll take.
Asian. That's how it works. I take
Yeah,
care of you. When I'm old, you take care of me.
yeah, exactly. So, but she's like, my daughter. So my ex is Hispanic. She's Latina. So my daughter's half Latina, half Cambodian. So,
Mm.
but she identified more as Asian, which is I find it's funny. She
You
sees
think
herself more that.
maybe it's closer to you.
No, she's close with both. I guess she's just more like culturally, she likes more of the Asian stuff. I think. Like I
Hmm.
think she does. I'd say at one point she will explore that side of things.
Oh yeah.
I think when they grew up, they kind of like cater to one and to another. But I think at the end of the day, they embrace both races too. So
Hmm. So now she spends a lot of time with you, and she enjoys what you do. You enjoy what she does,
yeah,
right? But someday she's gonna grow up and she's gonna fly away out of the nest. Are you ready for that?
I think I am. Well, not well. Once she gets older, yeah, I'll be sad. She'll have to do. But at some point, I'll be older too. I'll be like, you've been around for a
Hmm.
while. Just call me when we go have dinner or hang out, kind of thing. But I think my relationship, I want to maintain it to be like close and always do stuff with my kid. It's not like just like, hey, I'm grown up. I'm gonna do my thing. I'll be like, yo, you gotta call me or I'm not giving you money or something. But I think at some point they have to do that. Like us, we grew up and then we do we still, but I think the values of like being a family and close, like even when my parents like were close, I always see them every weekend.
Oh,
Same
nice.
thing with on her mom's side, and so it's like I think that's a value that's carried over by both families too, like from her mom and my side, where it's like family is kind of important.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand and I agree. I want to ask you something. You take pictures and videos of her and post it online. What
Yeah,
do you think of about parents being reluctant to post their children's images online because they feel like it's against their will, and
yeah.
fucking perverts are all over the world.
There's I find it's yeah. I get the purpose. I do think of that, like, oh man, there's probably some random weirdos, but that's anxiety. That's the fear of the unknown, right? It's just more of
Mm.
like you don't. If I'm not aware of it, it's fine. I
Yeah.
find like to a parent that it's to each his own. Like I do understand some of them they don't want to share too many videos of their daughter. Or I'm just proud of my daughter. Like this is my kid,
Mhm.
and she has a personality. Like I do a thing with her where I try to ask her questions and I film her a bit.
I love
And
that.
yeah, so my goal is to try to. I was doing it every like year or 2 years or so,
Hmm.
and then now I'm gonna try to probably do once a year and then do a compilation as she gets older, just to see how she grows and how she answers these questions as she gets older and older. And I think it's like she's also aware of like the YouTube culture and she likes that and she kind of wants to do content, but I'm not the type of person who's like I'm gonna like because I did one video of her like an unboxing video, like a random video. She was like, "Oh, I want to do a video of this," but then I'm like, if you want to do it, you have to do it on your. I'm not because at the end I was like, it's me editing it at the end.
Hmm.
I'm the one shooting and make it look good. But then I'm like, yo, why am I working? I'm like, if you really want to do it, you should learn how to do it. I'm not gonna do it for you. I don't want to be like a parent that's gonna monetize their kid. You know,
Yeah.
I just want them if she really wants to explore that side and do it on her own time. That's good. That she's making that thought process of being creative, of learning it and doing it versus having somebody that like, oh, I could do everything for her. I could make her look good. Because at the end of the day, I'll get obsessed with it.
Hmm.
And then I'm just gonna be like, all right, let's do it like this. But it's not gonna be her style. It's gonna be like my style. So
Mm.
so that on that end, I just let her. If she wants to do that, do it yourself. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna help. Because at the end of the day, if I'm making like the content when I interview her, that at the end of the day, that's for me. It's not. It's like it's for her to see in the future, but it's just for me to have memories, and then that's fine. But when it's like her stuff, I'm like, you do that on your own, and I don't want to have her like grow up too much uh on camera too. Like if she wants to do it, just do it. But I feel like yeah, it is like a slightly not a problem, but more of like a something that I'm fully aware of. Like I don't want them to be too much about YouTube or TikTok and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Noticed based on what you're saying that you're more of like laissez-faire kind of dad. Like you want to do that, you do that. Be the
Yeah.
best you want to be. But have you ever thought like I need to push her to be good at something.
Yeah, I do push her for arts, I guess, when she likes to draw a lot. So that's something that I try to have her, do more or just spend more time doing. But I still think more of an approach of like you said, I rather have them learn and then find their own way versus me imposing, oh, this is like, you should be an engineer. Then we go back to that, right? It's like, oh, you should go, or then it goes back to like even worse, where it's like, remember when our parents just compares us to your cousin, to your
Oh my God, yes.
to the neighbor's kids, like, oh yeah, Daryl is like a successful accountant. You should do the same. And then they're gossiping on the phone with the other moms and stuff.
While
And
you
then
hear it.
and you hear it, you're like, oh man, I'm just playing like Legos and video games. I'm not doing that, So
Yeah.
I just want them to like find their own voice and do that more than anything. Like I think I'll push her more towards creative arts because that's where I lean more into. Because if I was a doctor or a lawyer, maybe I'll have that different like approach. But all I know is just creative arts and that stuff. So I'll for sure push her more towards that because that's what I love. So
Yeah, same here. Like I never push my kids. I love basketball, but I never
Yeah.
push them to play basketball. Like,
yeah,
and I tell them like, you need to fall in love with the game the way I fell in love with the game in
Yeah.
your own way.
exactly.
Because I
So
don't want them like playing it and then hating it.
yeah, exactly. Like you want them to do it because that's what they want to do. If they don't want to do it, that's fine. Or if they just want to do it as a hobby, that's fine too.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Other than the obvious, what's the hardest part of being a single dad?
I think the hardest part is that's a good one. I think it's well the like the girl stuff. Like I let her mom do that. Like when that happens, like so that is aware. I don't know the hardest part. I think I worry a lot as a parent. Like I think like any parent, like I have like worries about like how is she gonna do well in school, how she interacts. Like I think because knowing me, like how I used to interact as a kid, I know I do it a certain way, and then her, since she's a girl, she's a bit more quiet, more. But that's my like the hardest part is trying to teach her like the right way. I do like sometimes be like, yo, look, if somebody is an asshole, is a bully, you tell them like, or you just tell your teacher kind of thing. Like you just have to talk it out and communicate. Just don't do something stupid kind of thing. I think the hard part is knowing me is like it's like if somebody was during my time it was like if somebody was an asshole, I'll punch you,
Yep.
or I'll make sure that yo, you know what's gonna happen? I'm just gonna punch you, and then even if I lose, you'll know that I don't mess around. But I don't like for my kids. It's like I can't be like yo, go beat up these other kids.
Yeah, I see that. I tell my kids, do not hit first.
Yeah,
But when you hit, make it count.
yeah. Or
You know?
or sometimes I tell them like, look, like sometimes you could just communicate and that's fine. And sometimes aside of me, I just go like, if that kid's an idiot, I think it's
Yeah.
because of you. And then I'm like, it's probably their parents. They're idiots too.
And most likely the parents.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
likely. Which
So
is
just
the
like, yeah.
Which is the hardest part is like, you're trying to be nice, raise this kid, and then you
Yeah.
meet this kid. I'm like, bro, just be a nice parent to this kid so he'll be good too.
Yeah. I remember I told her once that, and she was like, oh my God, you just roasted his mom or something. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. They use
That's
like weird slang, these kids.
Oh, yeah, dude. I was just talking to a friend today saying, I think I said most deaf, like
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a cool dad's word. I'm like, not really. That's an old one,
That's an OG one. Yeah.
Yeah, but
No.
I don't know. I guess she doesn't know that, but I do try to know the slangs. So when I talk to them, I can communicate better.
Yeah, I try to. I think there is still like some of the slang is just I'm like, this is dumb. Or it's just me being old. But
I think we're just being old.
yeah, we're just being old. But no, but I think it's like, yeah, I think the hardest part is trying to navigate with a daughter in today's society, just trying to like,
Yeah.
understand all the nuances and everything. I think just navigate and just teaching them the right things. I think just finding the right things to say. Because sometimes I find the way I raise my kid is not the same way as any other parents. Like I find my way is very like freestyle, like wing it, and then she'll learn. Some people are very like, you got to do this. It's strict. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this time. I'm more like, I'll vibe. If my daughter's not feeling well to do something or doesn't want to do it, I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is we have to do this. It's like this is a must.
Yeah.
So
Same
I
here.
feel like just navigating, and then and then not getting other parents to like judge me. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't want
Good
them
luck
to
with
judge.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. You mentioned earlier your podcast, Weird Feelings podcast. I have to give you props because, all the podcasts out there, they're all either sitting down or on a desk, but this one is different. You guys
Yes.
lie down.
Yeah, we lie down. That's the concept. It's like we're on the floor.
I love it. Who thought of it?
I thought of it. I was like, I was with my buddy. I was like, we should do a podcast. I'm like, I've been thinking of doing a podcast where we're just laying down on the floor and on a nice carpet. And then he came up, was like, oh, let's try to do this, and this. And then it just became, it's just an idea that we wanted. It's like, it just looks different. Nobody has done it.
Yeah.
That's what's fun about it. It's just finding these fresh ideas and riffing with my buddy Tim. And then we just do it now. And, even the name, where at first we weren't sure, like, what do we want to talk about? Like, what is this? Like comedy? And it's like, no, let's just talk about normal things in life, things that we're not comfortable talking, that we're ready to talk on camera about. That's why it's weird feelings. Like, yeah, weird feelings about certain subjects that you don't really know about, but you discuss it, and that's how it came to life.
Do you guys
That weird feeling in your gut that you just like, you should say something but you're not sure if it's right. We just say it, and then we let people correct us or learn from it.
do you guys edit it after?
Yeah, so it took us a while to like, because we don't do it live. It took us a while to find like the good setup and the good concept for the production side. And now it's like, yeah, we record. It's usually an hour, and then we edit after. So now we have like at first we started like I think during the pandemic, and the hard part was being able to shoot, and I guess being consistent. It took us a while, and then now starting now, that's where we're starting to be consistent. We're dropping every 2 weeks new content, and not every week. We do every 2 weeks because we do put a lot of effort in the presentation, the edit, and stuff like that too. So we do put a little bit of editing effort in a lot of it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the colors that you guys use. Has it ever happened that you said something while during the conversation and you said, you know what, you should take that up?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. We do try to be aware of that. I think it's just sometimes we're at the end, we're like, should we leave that on? And then we do prep ourselves before, where we go like, hey, we're talking about these subjects, and if we say it, we have to own it no matter what. and sometimes I'm like, okay, but we do. I think during the talks, because we have time to edit, so we do say like in while having conversation, we're like, just edit that out, and then that's it. We self edit while we have conversations.
Oh yeah, that happens too during the podcast too. It rarely happens when I record, but there are times that sometimes the guest says something, I'm like, yo, this gotta go.
Yeah.
I would not
sometimes,
stop the guest talking, obviously, but I will. But in my head, I'll take it out.
Yeah, as it's just more of a we are aware of things that we do joke around a lot, so we try to get around with like it being just a bit sometimes. Like we do have jokes, but we do leave it as is sometimes because I don't know, we live with it. That's why it's a weird feeling, because we want people to correct us, or that's why we ask in the comments if we're not right about a certain subject. We're not experts. We're two guys that are idiots, and we're just talking about things that we're either we know about or we don't know about. But yeah, when it comes to like if we go too wild, like I don't know, if we had too much coffee or Red Bull, we'll edit that out. But it doesn't happen that much. It's just sometimes the things that we edit out is the things that we talk about. It's so boring, and we're just like, you know what, this is. What we just talked about has no meaning in this podcast. Just cut it out, and then we just make it tighter and shorter too. So, yeah.
For the editing part, the things that you edit, is it because being the mindset? Is it being influenced by cancel culture, or it's just do you think it's too negative?
I think it's just more like, yeah, I guess so. Some of it's either like it's either too negative or cancel culture, or maybe we're not sure. We're like, is this, are we saying it the right thing, or it's just the bad word we just said and we use? Sometimes we'll just bleep it and people will use their imagination what we say. But we're also, like I said, we're also aware of what we're saying. We're not. A lot of it is we joke around a lot about it, but yeah, some when it's stuff that's like, yeah, we can't say that. This is it's like people are not going to be happy with this type of comment or stuff like that. So we just cut it out. But nobody knows. We just do some editing magic, and or maybe we'll start a Patreon and we'll just have everything loose. Yeah, so,
That's a good idea.
yeah. But no, I think we're both aware of the subjects we do talk about. But sometimes we do say like the wrong word. That's not that we can't use anymore in these days, or it's just more me. Sometimes there's some words I still use it. I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, yo, it's usually Tim's like, yo, you can't say that. And I'm like, why? It's there. It's like I could use it. I try to play around it, but then it's like, God, it doesn't work out. So
That's your ghetto side.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You can't get the ghetto out of me.
Yeah, but if you edit yourself, is that being you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it is being me, but more aware of. I think the thing that I grew as a person that I grew is like being aware of people's sensitivities, which is something that took a while for me to understand. Because sometimes I would just go in a room and just say wild things like and then people are like, yo, what's going on here? So I'm more aware of like how people are perceiving things, or how people like it might be funny to me because that's what I think. But it's not funny to other people, or it's not right for other people. So I'm aware of like being sensitive on certain subjects. Also be was the word is that empathetic word?
Yeah, empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic. There's some words, even on the podcast, Tim corrects me on words like, yo, do you know what that means? I'm like, I think it means this. And he's like, no, that's not what it means. Like, oh crap. Then he goes and teaches me. But then I tell him like, oh, you're just being a colonial, just trying to show us stuff.
You white boy.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how our chemistry is as me and him, because we have two different upbringings, but that's how it works. We're two different environments, two different culture. But that's why the podcast we feel it works, because he knows certain things, I have a certain view of things, two different backgrounds, and it just we learn from each other, which is great.
I love it, and I'm excited that you're gonna put out more because it's once a month. I see him like, yo, come on, let's get it on.
It's hard. It's hard to the editing. That's what like audio is easy, but like like us, it's more like you have to watch it. Like I don't know if you saw the last one, which is all AI.
Yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah.
You did the popsicle.
Yeah. So it was just us doing some. We have different subjects every week, so it's always like touchy subjects or subjects that like I said earlier, like just random subjects that we want to discuss. And we're gonna start having guests on
sweet.
too. So you should come on. So
it will be such an honor, man. I would love that. Let me know.
You could come and lie down with us in between us.
Yeah, I love it. It's like you just lie down and you're just like. Rrr.
Yeah, it's weird because we're not looking at each other. But that's the weird part, because we're like looking at the ceiling. But I don't know. We managed to make it work. So.
You guys have great chemistry. That's what it is.
Awesome. Good to know. So you hear that? You hear that, Tim? Good chemistry.
Exactly. You kind of alluded to this earlier about just exploding. I read that you had some anger issues. How are we doing with that?
I think we're good. We're good. The gym works out. My anger leaves at like 9. Yeah, I think growing up was more like built up. Just not. I think it's a lot of kids too that's just more like don't know how to control their emotions. I think as a growing up, it was like I was more of a quiet kid, and I would let things build. If I was getting bullied, or if somebody was picking on me, I would be like, all right, okay, one time is fine, 2 times, okay. Then it just keeps adding up, and at one time, I would be like the Hulk, I'm like, fuck you, and just lose, and then lose it. And I think in my head, as I was like, oh, they know that Johnny has like a threshold, like a ceiling, so don't get to that. But I think I've been able to work with my anger management, either with Like, for me, working out just sets my day and I feel good. Before, like, I would smoke weed. That would help too, just to calm down. But not really. I think it went away as I think it was me being impatient, I guess, a bit. And since I got my daughter, I've been able to like, be able to take things in more, and then just take time and not let things build up. This is fine, it happens. And I had a lot of anxiety before, like maybe like a year ago or two, and I worked on that more. Like now it's just more like, you know what, there's no stress, no reason to get angry at anything or be frustrated at stuff. It's just, if it happens, it happens, and that's it. I changed the way I think about things, or I approach things more. I think that helped a lot of just rewiring my brain to like, you can't be a loose cannon or just be like, I do sometimes get emotional when it comes to like arts or certain ideas where I'm like, yo, we have to do this. This is it or not. But I kind of do like a step back a lot now. Like, okay, I'll sleep on it. And then, that what helps with that is talking with friends about it, or being open to talk about these emotions or feelings, and not have it like, because a lot of it comes from frustrations, right? These anger or explosiveness. But,
Control.
yeah, but I was more like, I had more anger issues in high school. It was just more like, I just didn't know how to control my feelings. That's it. So the podcast helps too. The podcast, just talking about anything, it just helps. But I think it's more of a rewiring of the brain. And also I keep, my friends keep like, yo, you always say like the gym helps. You always say that, but it doesn't help for everyone. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it helps for me. And it's like, that's what helps me. So.
But people that say like it doesn't help because you don't do it. That's why.
Yeah. To each his own too. My side that's more like empathetic and like aware of people say like, yeah, you can do other things. But I think for me, it just sets the day. Like I think after a good, like I work out now, I started doing like consistent since last year. I did sober October. And then since then, I haven't smoke any weed, and I do drink barely. I don't drink beer, but I drink sometimes cocktails, but very rarely. But every day at like 5:36, I have to be up and then out about in like 15-20 minutes, and I'm at the gym every morning.
Congratulations, man. You're a beast.
I try. My goal is to be super jacked. But
how are we doing with that? We're getting close.
It's hard. It's all diet. It's all.
Dude,
I love to eat. It's all diet. So now I'm back to like low carb a bit, eating just protein and veggies, which is fine, but it's hard.
Do you listen to music or working out?
Yeah, I listen to the same thing. I have a playlist that I listen to. It's either sometimes metal, a lot of rap. I've been a lot into Japanese pop recently, which is interesting.
Japanese pop music.
Yeah, like J-pop is just Japanese girls
like
singing.
Those things?
I thought I didn't like it, but then I discovered this band with my daughter that she loves, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good." It's like anime music. So
okay.
So you're like at the gym, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm an anime character now."
Oh yeah, I don't listen to music. I try, but I tend to not.
Really?
To. Yeah,
I do.
I listen to podcasts.
I find that so hard for me to concentrate because I'm like, oh, I want to hear what they're saying, but I'm trying to lift weights.
That's the thing. For me, that works for me because I'm really not listening to them. I'm just listening like people talking.
Okay. But, you know what I did once that was crazy? It was, that guy, David Goggins?
Yeah, but he's too intense. I love him, but it's too intense.
Yeah, he's too intense. But I did do one thing that he did once, and it was listen to Going the Distance, that Rocky song?
Yeah.
I've done that one day or a few weeks where I just listened to that one song on repeat, and it works. It worked. Well, it might be crazy, but I did it, and it something in me was like, oh yeah, I'm in a Rocky movie, so I listen on repeat. I can't wait to see my Spotify yearly rap at the end to see what's like the number one song. But
it's probably that.
Yeah, it's probably that. But yeah, but sometimes I try to do like intense things that I'm like, all right, this is insane, but I'll try it. Then I'll just forget about it.
I do that too. I go biking like yesterday. I went biking for 110 kilometers.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to music, but I do I try to like like think of Goggins.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
Oh, I did do like there's like a playlist on Spotify, it's all motivational speeches.
Mm.
And I think 1 month I did that. I was just listening to that every morning. I would wake up and it was like a motivational speech, and then I was like, all right, I could do it. And then I would go and would sit. And then I
It
stopped
makes me
because after
cringe.
it is cringy because every time I tell my friend like, yo, that's kind of whack. I'm like, yeah, it is, but in a cheesy way, it kind of works. And
Yeah.
To each his own, man. Don't judge
Exactly.
me. So
I 100% with you. To each its own. Like whatever motivates you, whatever makes you get up and do the things that is hard that you enjoy or you don't enjoy, but you have to do it anyway.
yeah,
Hey, do it, man.
me, the main thing about it now to keep doing it is because a lot of people at my gym are retired, and I see them work out and put in the work, and I'm like, yo, they're like in their 70s, 80s,
Wow.
and they're in good shape, and they're like, yo, young boy, you gotta. You see, because it's like working out and being fit or just putting in the work. It's like insurance for your future. So it's like
Yeah.
if I do it now, I'll look like these old guys, and they're in good shape, and they're nice. And then everybody at my gym, I know everybody at my gym now in the morning. It's like this. It's all retired people, and it kind of humbles you. Like, oh, they're keeping it active, and they're keeping a positive mind, even though they're a bit older. But they're like, yo, just keep working out, and that's
Yeah.
it.
If you enjoy it anyway, like I do the same thing every morning, 5:30 in the morning, time to go. I don't go to a gym. I do it in my basement.
That's good. As long as you're active, and
Yeah.
it's more of a. It just needs to become like any daily task. It's like this is a thing I do. That's how I see it. It's not like, oh, I need to get ready for the summer for a summer body, and then after I'll just go start losing gaining all the weight back. It's more like let's just stay active, and I know it makes me feel good in my head. Mentally, it's great, and then it makes me feel physically too. That's a plus. So it's win-win. So.
Yeah, same here, same here. I want to talk about your hat, Mekong nightclub.
Oh yes,
I love
sick.
it.
Thanks. Well, I have a brand called Uneducated Kids. It's a brand I started like back in 2016 that I did like a few, like I did like 2 collections I think back then. And the whole meaning around it is I don't know if you read about it. It's more about how so during the war or the concentration camps, the genocide and all that, where during the Pol Pot era like people had to pretend to not be educated to survive because intellectuals, creatives, people in military, teachers, and all that, they would get killed if they knew that you were educated and all that. So and it's also a story how my dad had to pretend the whole time to not get killed. So I was like, that's why I was like uneducated kids, because these are all the people that survive are technically uneducated, and that's how the name came about. So
I love it. So
yeah.
clever. What do you wish to accomplish with it?
It was more of a when I started, it was more to like understand more of my country's past, and like the culture was more like to be able to research and then putting it and having like I use like t-shirts and clothing as like my canvas kind of to express some of these creative ideas on it. And I think it was just more for me personally, because I don't do like a collection where it's like every season there's something. I just do it when I feel like it. But it was just more to learn about and just doing the research and having a process where like, okay, this t-shirt is about a certain subject or a certain era or a certain part of the culture, and then and putting that on a t-shirt. Like for example, the Mekong nightclub was, I don't know if you saw that Cambodian the documentary about the rock and roll.
I saw the trailer.
Yeah, so you should see the whole thing. It's really interesting because it's about how like Cambodia had a whole golden era of music with rock and roll, with the GIs coming in dropping records, and we would do our own version of rock and roll. And in one segment, they talked about one of our main singers. She's like the golden voice of Cambodia, like Rosare Satia. She was like technically like our Celine Dion back then. And when she started, she would play clubs, and one of the clubs that was mentioned in the document was called the Mekong nightclub, and that's why I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like the Mekong nightclub. it gave me more of a, not a dream, but I was thinking more like, oh, maybe this was a place that used to be like a hub for creatives that we would go and hang out, have a drink, listen to some music, and dance and all that. And because now all of that doesn't exist. It's just a memory. So it was more like a an homage to that era and also an homage to the singer kind of thing. So that's why I made that hat. And it's also another way. It's like the Mekong kind of connects all of us Southeast Asians, right, through the Mekong Delta River. So it's like also like a way for like connecting all Southeast Asians. It was like I always try to do like in my head it's always a double meaning, but then I explain it to people like, oh yeah, that's cool, but I don't know what's your thought of it, because I always try to put one main meaning and then one meaning that's more like, oh, this is another meaning into like
Oh,
things
I
I
love
design.
that. I love when there's a double entendre. I
Yeah.
always love that. I always going back to your Instagram handle. Like there's always that. I think that's an Asian thing because Filipinos love that too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we love like puns,
Okay. That's good.
and double entendres. Like there's always when they're talking, you have to understand what they're saying and whatever the sub meaning of what they're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I try to do that. So with the hat, so now what I'm doing is like I'm doing, instead of doing collections, I do like one piece, a drop, and then it's always more like a thought out piece. It's like, oh, this hat is about this, and then maybe I'll do a T-shirt that's about something else. And I'll do always limited runs.
I
Yeah.
love the one that I'm gonna forget the from the mud we bloom.
Oh yeah, from the mud we still bloom.
Yes,
Yeah, it's just the
deep,
lotus
bro.
the lotus flower. It's like a beautiful thing, and then it grows from the mud, and like our people, like we went through hell and we still made it out the other side. So yeah, that's something I just came up. I was like, all right, that
I like
makes
that.
sense. Yeah,
That's
thank you.
not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad.
So I think that's my slogan in my head. I think that's the main slogan.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
By the way, about the Mekong nightclubs and other things, obviously, when the Khmer Rouge came, they annihilated the culture. How
Yeah.
did this information survive? The videos, some books, perhaps?
Well, so there was a segment in that documentary that the sister of the singer of Hosre Sotia, she mentions like, oh yeah, my sister used to go to Phnom Penh and sing at bars, and then one place was the Mekong nightclub, and then that stuck. I was like, okay, if that's her saying that, maybe it existed, maybe it didn't, but I was more of like my uh interpretation of like, this is the Mekong nightclub was a thing in my mind. It existed. It was like a place where our main singer, like our most popular singer, was there. That's where she started, at these bars, and then that stuck, and I just kept rolling with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I've saw videos of Cambodian singing.
yeah.
Where did they hide those videos?
I'm not sure. See, that's a good. So there's a lot of content like well, them singing. Some of them is either like in movies or really old footage of stuff. So a lot of it is like just old movies, I think.
Yeah, but
Or
again, Khmer Rouge tried to burn everything.
yeah, exactly. So there's not a lot. Like it's either karaoke stuff. We have a lot of karaoke videos, but the things that was before the war, there's not a lot of yeah, there's not a lot. I think I haven't been able. Like I find little, like you see, like what I do is like I dig a lot the internet. Like that's what I have access to, and I can't just go fly to Cambodia and just find things. But there's a lot of things that are on lives in the internet from other people that are refugees from the Cambodian diaspora that put it out on YouTube, or like random like forums, or random, like I found like an archive of old educational books that are Cambodian books that has like cool covers. I found like a bunch of, somebody just scanned them. So I have like a bunch of that, like scanned PDF from a forum or like a random website that I just scour, and then I just keep like an archive of the stuff for ideas and like just for future stuff that
That's
I want to do.
amazing.
Yeah.
Were you always in touch with your roots?
No, I think growing up, I was more of like I was growing up, in Canada. I think I was in touch as far as like culturally with food, and I think it's more growing up where it's like, yo, I'm Cambodian, and why don't I have Cambodian friends? I know like there's a few that are from like my parents, like like not relatives, but like friends that I know, but I don't really hang out with them. Is there people like me, like artists or creatives?
Mhm.
And then as I got older, I found more. There's like so many cooler Cambodians that are just doing really cool stuff, and now it's more where like I I think I discovered what's his name, Soke,
Sokayun,
Soke
boy.
Yoon, yeah. So
That's
I
my
talked to him.
boy. I love him.
So I talked to him now, and then he's doing really cool stuff. Out of Atlanta,
Insane.
a different vibe. Like more ATL, like Cambodian and kind of rap, which
Mhm.
is super cool. And then in Montreal, there's like a bunch here. Like there's like Mei Lee, illustration artist. There's Tyler Campo, also an illustration artist. The guy that does all my t-shirt print, like Ellie, he
Mm.
runs like a screen print shop. He's Cambodian. There's also Street Monkeys with Tota that does that too. That would never done. So now I'm discovering a lot more. Dude, I discovered like there's a Cambodian skater that's here that's really good. His name is Kun. I think it goes under Donkey Kun on Instagram. Dude, there's so many talented people that I've just recently discovered. I was like, wow, there is people out there. And then there's Khmer Renaissance out of LA community.
Mm.
With the G Funk. So there's a lot of things. So with the internet and social media, it's been a lot easier to connect with people from the diaspora of Cambodia, like across the world too. So
Yeah, exactly. I have another boy, Adru Art, on Instagram. You should check him out. He makes drawings of like Cambodian art.
okay, sick.
But
I think I've seen it. I think he was on your podcast, right? Recently?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think I
He's
checked it out.
awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Shout out to him. He's awesome too.
Yeah, there's a lot of us, and I feel more and more when I see them. It's like, yo, was Cambodians like just a creative cult, like people, like because I'm from a generation where I was born here. Cambodia. My home is Canada
Hmm.
and Quebec. Like Cambodia is where my family's from, but like I feel like our people was more of like intellectuals and like a lot of creatives, because all the ones that I discovered, they're all creatives and they all do stuff that's
Mhm.
creative, and they're not lawyers or there's the engineers and lawyers, like, but a lot of them were like they're into the arts, into the music
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Have you been back to visit?
I've never been.
Ooh.
Never. I want to go. I think my dad hasn't been back either since the war,
Ah,
and
that's
he
hard.
and he wants to go now, so I probably
that's
will
good.
go with him at some
Oh,
point.
you got to make
Yeah.
a video.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Well, if I go, it has to be like a month, and I feel like it's gonna be heavy for me. I can
Oh yeah.
already imagine it as like the weird thing is because Cambodia, like I said earlier, like my home to me is Montreal, Canada,
Mhm.
and then going there, I'm still an outsider, right? I'm not
Mhm.
like as long like my family is from there, they were born there, but the not my relationship, but my experience with Cambodia will be as a tourist, kind of almost. It's like discovery, so it's like a different.
I promise you, when the ancestor speaks to your soul, you'll be like, "Oh, this is my home."
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
hard. It's kind of because like how like if you were born in the Philippines, right?
Yes, sir.
And you could be like, oh, I remember the streets of this and this and the
Mhm.
smell of, I can't do that. What I remember is what's in your background, like the projects, downtown Montreal. That's what makes me like a Cambodian Canadian,
Mhm.
and that's why I try to do with Uneducated Kids too, where it's like I try to represent my perspective as a son, a kid from immigrants that pushes my culture, but through a different eye. Like, yes, I'll take elements of my culture, a lot of it, but
Mhm.
also push like wherever I'm like from Montreal, I push that culture too. So there's a
course.
lot of that too. So
Why is it important to you to share these stories?
I think it's if we don't do it, because how I see it is like Cambodia has, okay, we have our dark past, we have our history, and then the people that are there are the renaissance of Cambodian culture is done over there. And I feel like as uh not an outsider, but like as the diaspora and people from Cambodians from different parts of Canada, of the US, we have to showcase like our culture, but from like I guess like a Western side of things, where it's like this is Cambodians doing things in Canada or in the US or in Long Beach, wherever we're from. I think it's important to maintain that the culture by telling the stories of our parents, what they went through, but also sharing the stories of us. And as you can see, there's like a rebirth within our people, like, where we're doing a lot of things that's super cool. And I think it's important that our identity is being shown and presented to the world. It's not just like, because people fall back like, oh, Cambodia is like, oh, it's the genocide, it's Pol Pot, it's the Khmer Rouge, but yo, it's not just war. It's the food, it's the arts, it's the people, it's our parents, hustling, it's the music, it's all of that. That's what Cambodia is, like yeah, we some shitty things happen, but we can't just be stuck on it. And that's why I changed the way I I designed my things, because at one point everything was so dark. It was like, yo, it's always about the war. I was like, I need to shed light on the more positive things. Look, it's the music. We had a golden era of music in Cambodia. Let's educate ourselves with that. I don't know much about it as much as the other Cambodian kids or the ones that are growing up, like, I don't know, the next generation. So let's put some light on it and then push it like that and showcase to the other generations that, look, we're pushing the boundaries and we're pushing the culture forward, and you have to do that too, wherever you're at, or whatever age you are. They have somebody to look up to. Like, they can't say like, oh, I'm going to look up to they can't say like, yeah, I'll look up to people from Cambodia, but the ones that are born in Canada or in the US, they have to look up to like us or the guys like Khmer Renaissance or Community. They're doing really positive things for their community in their area, and I have to do the same for people in the French-speaking Cambodians in Canada and all that. So,
Well said, man. Well said.
yeah.
When you create, do you how can you make sure that you don't glorify the horror and the traumatic experiences?
Yeah, I think the way I do it is I try to be, I've thought about it too, like how the sensitive part of me of like being empathetic of even people like my parents or their friends or people that went through it, because I didn't go through it. My parents went, and I think I bear that with me every day. Was like, look, Johnny, you didn't go through the war, but my parents went through it. Other parents went, and I can't just use that as like a way to show like my experience, because that's not my experience. My experience is just more of like uh just being the son of immigrants and refugees, and know that my parents, by them telling me. So I try to I'm not going to go into like really like dark stuff that's like too glorifying, but sometimes I do, because I think there's a side of me or a side of someone that needs to know and understand that part that we're trying to tell the story of, and then it's up to them to correct us or tell us, because I'm using it more of a way to express what I'm feeling from my parents or from my cousins and my family that went through that, my brother. So it's just my interpretation of their experiences that I'm trying to push. And everybody has different experiences. So it's just more of that. I think it's more being aware of that. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure if I was.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I think we're there, buddy. I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast. Before we close out, do you have any last remarks?
No. Thanks for having me over. I think it was really, really fun. I really like talking, and also, yeah, make sure you check out Weird Feelings, my podcast. Check out Lopez, where I do work with those guys, and also stay tuned in the future. I'll be working on my own podcast in the future. This more serious, less jokey, but I always want to have like some conversations too. And then also, you got to come to the Weird Feelings podcast and lay down, and we'll talk about Filipino food and different stuff about the Filipinos.
Yeah, man, for sure. That would be an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much. Again, my man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you again, Johnny, for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.